this first topic that I want to talk about, because me being in Houston right now, the Houston Rockets, with the Houston Rockets players getting trades, getting draft picks, and it's kind of sad for this player and what I am about to tell y'all. So, Houston Rockets guard Kevin Porter Jr. was arrested with assault and strangulation Monday, September 11th, to his girlfriend and former WNBA player in a New York City hotel room. Prosecutors revealed that during the attack, she suffered a neck vertebra and a deep cut above her right eye. It is also alleged that he did not stop attacking her until she escaped and ran into the hotel lobby covered in blood. And officers were informed that an individual had struck her multiple times around her eye and choked her so hard that he basically fractured her vertebrae. This is not the first time that Kevin Porter Jr. has been reported to abuse his girlfriend. Which one incident he ended up basically crashing his car into her car, and just other instances involved. And Kevin Porter Jr., the type of person that he is and his character, he has been getting in trouble ever since high school. He was involved in a one-car crash, and the police saw that he had drugs on him and he was going at a high rate of speed, so they ended up charging him with involved in the crash, possession of marijuana, failure to control. But those crimes ended up getting dismissed. Those charges ended up getting dismissed. He's also have been suspended multiple times on each and every team that he has been on, starting from USC with conduct issues. Then he went to Cleveland. He got drafted by Cleveland back in 2019, 30th overall pick, and he had conduct issues there. He had conduct issues when he got traded to the Houston Rockets. So now, with this whole incident with him and his girlfriend, it's like that's like the cherry on top in regards to his conduct and how people are going to paint how he is. The star guard was a starting point guard. He was the starting point guard for the Houston Rockets, and he had career high numbers in points per game and rebounds. He was averaging around over 19.2 points a game, over 5 rebounds a game for the Houston Rockets. Even though the Houston Rockets had a bad record, he was still putting up some good numbers, and he was supposed to be starting this upcoming season, even with the new additions of Fred VanVleet, Dylan Brooks, and then they drafted Amen Thompson with the 4th overall pick in the 2023 NBA draft. So based off what I just told y'all, you would think, oh, his conduct is bad, and the fact that he choked his girlfriend so hard that he literally fractured her vertebra. When I first heard the new news about this, I was just like, how do you just choke someone that hard to basically fracture their vertebra? Like, that's literally like, you have to hold them very, very, very tight. Like, she could have almost died from that. There's something new news that it came out as I'm recording this video, which I am fixing to tell y'all right now. And the main thing that I want y'all to get from this, I'm not saying that what Kevin Porter Jr. did, if he gets charged with this and he gets convicted, that what he did, he's totally innocent. He's 100% responsible of the crime. But I want y'all to keep in mind, with domestic violence crimes, you have to hear both sides of the story, because there has been plenty of times in which a female will literally lie on the dude, whether he's a big name or just whatever, things not going their way and they get into an argument. A female can just do something. They can rip their clothes off, have cuts on them, just do whatever. But how society paints it, they're going to go after the male, because with domestic violence, one or two people have to go to jail. It's either going to be the male or it's going to be the female. 9 times out of 10, who is it going to be? The male. But I'm not defending him. I want that to get out the way. I want the air to be cleared. I'm not defending Kevin Porter Jr. in no way, shape, or form. I just want to tell y'all, with domestic violence, you have to look at both sides of the story. You can't just hear one side of the story and not get the other side of the story, because if you don't, you're just going to get all the information misbottled up, misconstrued, and take everything out of proportion. So you got to hear both sides of the story. So if you're in domestic violence, and me talking to y'all or just anyone that you know, that's like the only time that you do have to talk to the police. Because if you don't talk to the police, they're going to take the other person's side of the story. You just can't heavily rely on the evidence. Even though the evidence is going to be there, you want to have your testimony. You want to have your side of the story for domestic violence cases. So with that in mind, let me tell y'all the new news that I literally just found out before I recorded this video. Not even like 5 minutes before I recorded this video. So it says right here, it says that she told lawyers that she says that she didn't strike her repeatedly. If he hit her, she didn't have a broken jaw. And she exaggerated about the whole thing. She exaggerated about her having a fractured vertebra. She actually has a genetic defect in which it's basically soft tissue where her vertebra is. So when I guess she went to the hospital and doctors didn't know about that, they had, I guess, did an x-ray, and obviously it will show up as if she had a fractured vertebra, but she didn't end up having a fractured vertebra. And then also, she was telling us, basically the people, that she didn't want the whole story to get blown out of proportion. Not saying that Kevin Porter Jr. didn't strangle her, but the story that she had said on how he choked her so hard and it was actually strangulation, she basically said that that wasn't even the case. So how can you say from Jump Street that you were strangled very, very bad, and now the fractured vertebra had ended up happening, and you're just rolling with the story? Now, come to find out today, as I'm recording this video, that you don't have a fractured vertebra, and he didn't strangle you. You didn't want people to take the story out of proportion. Like, something isn't adding up, which is going back to my point. You have to hear both sides of the story. The only thing now that they can basically use is if, when she came out the hotel lobby room and she escaped, that she was covered in blood or something was going on. She had any marks. She had a bruise on her right eye, because she confirmed that she had a bruise on her right eye. She just said that the strangulation wasn't really a strangulation and how that was blown out of proportion. That was an exaggeration. That was according to her. And she also said that the fractured vertebra, there is no fractured vertebra. She has a defect to the point to where it's soft tissue right there, so it's going to come up as if she has a fractured vertebra, but she doesn't. But when the whole story came out, you said that he choked you so hard, you was finna die, and this whole strangulation happened. But now, come to find out today that it didn't end up happening. You just basically made a whole story up. And I'm pretty sure he knows about this, and he knows, like, bro, like, I'm not saying that it could have been a setup. If he actually did it, he actually did it. But now people are going to look at his conduct along with this situation, along with the simple fact that this is not the first time that they have got into an argument or a situation to which police were called. And it's like the odds are already stacked against him from his past conduct that have happened to him ever since he was in USC. So with that in mind, females will take advantage of that. Like I said, I'm not defending him in no type of way, but females, if they see something in regards to what can be your downfall and you're up, bro, some females will really get down like that, and they will tell you, and they'll do whatever in order to bring you down, whether it's something like this, domestic violence, because one person has to go to jail in a domestic violence dispute. There's never no times in which both of them don't even go to jail. One person has to go to jail. And females, they get in their feelings, their emotions, they're emotion-based, they're emotional creatures, so they're going to let their emotions get to them. So sometimes they don't think rationally like us dudes. They think based off of emotion. So with that in mind, if you get into a real bad argument with them, some will literally set you up and say that you did this, and the third, and you didn't end up doing that, and that's not the truth. But since it's domestic violence, someone has to go to jail. They could cut themselves. They can do whatever to make it seem like it's domestic violence. But in reality, it's not. She did all of that. But how society paints it, the dude is going to go to jail 9 times out of 10, because they're going to be like, how can a female have domestic violence towards a dude? That's how society thinks. It's like, you're a dude, you're strong, you're not supposed to have a female be verbal abuse to you, physically abusing you, none of that, because you're the stronger man. So with that in mind, they're going to take the dude to jail 9 times out of 10. Not saying, and I'm going to keep on stating this, not saying that I'm defending Kevin Porter Jr. If he did this, if this is actually what happened, he's 100% wrong and he should be held liable. He has since posted bail. He has been waived by the Rockets. They're trying to get a trade so that way they don't have to pay him $3 million. So that was a part of his little contract clause. If he does get waived, the Rockets will have to pay him $3 million. So they're trying to trade him. But let's just say hypothetical. You got to look at it from both perspectives. What if this didn't happen? What if this didn't happen? What if this whole thing was a lie and now he's off the team and he just lost money? He was just a starter. Now he just lost his starting job because of his conduct in the past plus this, and this didn't even happen. Some females will do that. So you got to look at it from both ways. It's interesting. You got to hear Kevin Porter Jr.'s side of the story. Hopefully he does speak out and say what actually happened. But like I said earlier, she didn't deny the fact that she has a cut on her right eye. So there was some sort of abuse. So really they're relying on that, and they're relying on the simple fact that she came out the hotel room and ran into the lobby covered in blood. So they're really going based off of that. This is an active investigation. Obviously, like I said, as I'm recording this video, September 15th, 2023, this is when the new news came out. This story has been going on since September 11th, 9/11. So more news is still going to come out about this case. This is still fresh. This is still the beginning. It's not the end. This is still active. So more news could potentially come about this case. So I'm not defending no one. I'm not on no one side. Anytime that it's a domestic violence case, you have to look at it from both sides. You can't just go based off of the first story. You have to hear the second story, come together, and then make your thoughts up from there. Because based off how the story was presented to us and what, his girlfriend had said, we was thinking, oh, this dude was just this abuser. If this is actually true, he should not be playing in the NBA, which if this is true, he should not be playing in the NBA. But now, since this new news then just came out, now you're questioning, is this some sort of setup? Is this some lying in there? Did she try to exaggerate it to make it seem as though it is something that it's really not? Because how are you going to tell us that you didn't want us to take it to the wrong perspective and you didn't want us to blow it out of proportion? But that's what you're telling us. You told police that happened. You told officers, law enforcement that happened. So obviously we're going to roll with it as of right now. But don't be mad or don't try and change your story once we find out what the real truth is. I'm not saying what you said isn't the truth, but what we do know now is that you blew some of the information out of proportion. So now we're questioning, what more have you blown out of proportion? Not saying that Kevin Porter Jr. didn't do it. If he did it, he should be held liable. He should not come back to the NBA because he didn't had so many conduct issues with each and every one of his teams. The only team that I feel as though he should not have got anything like conduct wise, and I see why he got a conduct issue, but I still feel as though it should not have even like happened or whatever, was the Houston Rockets. Because for those of y'all that do not know, the Houston Rockets are trash, and the old coach that they had before they signed the new head coach Udoka, he was trash. They just lost like the first 20 games of the season. At one point they were like 0-20. So obviously when you're 0-20, character is going to break in the locker room. We're going to get mad. We're going to be like, bro, our team is sucking. The coach isn't coaching us correctly, because there should be no way, shape, or form, if you're a good coach, that we're losing 20 games straight, back to back to back, and we haven't won a game yet. That goes straight on coaching. So obviously we're going to let our emotions, us dudes, we're going to let our emotions get to that, because it's basketball. It's something that we love to do. Something that we love to do. So if we keep on losing, if you have that competitive spirit, obviously you're going to be mad because you want to win. Who doesn't want to win? So him coming at the coach, it was just like, hey, like, what are you doing? Like, why are we losing all of these games? Like, you need to get your stuff together. Because if you don't, like, I'm not going to play. The team is just going to break character. Like, he was just getting mad at all of that. So you can't blame him for that conduct. But the thing is that happened before with the USC incident, the Cavaliers incident, all of that. Yeah, like, that goes strictly on him. That's strictly his conduct. But going back to the case, they're going to use that as a way to build character to the jury, because it's going to go to trial. He's not finna plead guilty to this. I can guarantee you he's not finna plead guilty. He's going to plead not guilty, and this is going to go to trial. This domestic violence is all going to go to trial. So more news is going to come up about this case. But I don't like how they're going to use old news, because you already know they're going to use old news that had happened back in his past from college and how his conduct is as a way to build character and build the type of person that he could potentially be. So he might not care, or they might say something negative about him, negative light shined upon him. So now when this incident comes up, it's like, oh, we're not surprised that he did it because of the character that he is. But like I said, I'm not defending Kevin Porter Jr. in no way, shape, or form. It's just with each and every domestic violence case is different. Each one can be different. There's some that are way, easier to solve than others because the evidence is literally right there. If I clearly see someone got punched, like, right then and there, like, that's something that you have to see. If you clearly see that someone got punched and they got all of these injuries, well, yeah, that's domestic violence. That's what I'm gonna see. I clearly saw it. So what is there more to speak of? There's evidence everywhere. And you hear the other person's side of the story, and it doesn't even match up to the evidence that you get. Yeah, you're going to solve that case easily. But there are some cases out here to where one individual might lie to try to put the other one in jail, and that's not even the case. And they don't even get no jail time or none of that. Like, they don't get in trouble for lying to the police or none of that. The female isn't, at least. They're not going to have none of that. So he just goes through the whole trial phase and all of that just for him to be found not guilty. He could lose his job. He could lose money, just lose everything, all because of someone's emotions. Someone's emotion, and they get mad because something don't go their way, and they'll try and do something to be petty or try to get their lick back. Because that's what some females do. But the fact that she blew everything, trying to say that we blew everything out of proportion and saying that it was an exaggeration on how hard he was strangling and it wasn't even a strangulation or none of that. Now it's questioning, like, what is the real story? Because I'm pretty sure when we first heard the story, everyone, me, you, your parents, everyone was probably like, oh, this person is just a bad person. Why did he do that? He should be cut from the team. He's going to lose all of this money, just all of that. But now since this new news has came up, does it kind of like bring your mind back to like, hey, you got to hear both sides of the story, because what if this is not true? You got the whole thing with Miles Bridges, another NBA athlete that had a whole situation and he had went to jail, and he was supposed to go to jail for sure. His situation with domestic violence, he was supposed to go to jail. Not saying that Kevin Porter Jr., if this is all true, he should go to jail and he should stay in jail. With Henry Ruggs, with the drunk driving, and he killed someone, vehicular manslaughter, he should be in jail. It's so crazy with these NBA players. Like, if these cases and these allegations are actually true, how some NBA players, some NFL players, or just athletes, period, will literally throw their careers away just by one moment. Just by one moment. We were just talking about transparent, looking at it from the lying perspective, but now you got to look at it on if the allegations are really true. It's crazy how these athletes will literally have this one viral moment and something will go bad for them and they literally go to jail and they lose their whole career. They were star players. Miles Bridges, if he didn't luckily get put back on the team, he could have potentially lost his job. Henry Ruggs, we already know with Henry Ruggs, he done got sentenced to 3 to 10 years in prison for vehicular manslaughter for the Oakland Raiders. He threw his career away. He's not going to be back on the football field. And now with this whole Kevin Porter Jr. situation, now it's like, I don't even think if this is true, he can't come back. He can't come back to the NBA. And it's so sad because his conduct was bad and he was actually a good player. This is not just like no regular person that is only averaging like 10 points a game, not really getting no playing time. No, I want y'all to keep this in mind. He was the starting point guard for the Houston Rockets. The starting point guard. Yes, they finished last place in the West. They did. But he was the starting point guard on that team. Let's not forget that. He was averaging over 19 points. He had a career high in points. Let's not forget that. He was the second best player on the team. Statistically, he was the second best player on the team, the second best guard on the team. Let's not forget that. Let's not forget how good Kevin Porter Jr. was. Let's not forget how good he was in high school and how he had one of the best high school mixtapes ever. Let's not forget what he has done in basketball. But if this is actually true, you done now just threw all of that away. You done threw away millions of dollars. Your reputation is going to get messed up. Now you can't come back to the league. Now you got to figure out what you're going to do outside of playing basketball. Yes, it's bigger than basketball, but this is something that you possibly love doing. You've been playing this ever since you was young and you were making millions of dollars. Now you're not going to be making millions of dollars. Not going to be making millions of dollars at all. All because of your conduct. Your conduct can be your downfall. Your attitude probably could be your downfall. So if this is actually true, this is a perfect example of how your attitude and your emotions can be the downfall of you. Like, you got to manage that. You got to control when to get mad, when to not do certain things, because now you're famous, you're big. You can't do the same things that you were doing back when you wasn't famous because people watch you. You have a digital footprint. People will watch everything that you post, everything that you basically do on the internet. If they see you outside, they will record you. You got to act a certain way when you are famous. And it's kind of messed up too, but at the same time, it's for your safety. It's for your safety and for the NBA, basically, for your profession. Because you see with Ja Morant, you see how he's showing guns multiple times. He got caught the first time. Adam Silver had something to say. Now he had got caught a second time. Then he tried to say that the weapon was a toy. It's all about the conduct. And they don't want the NBA to look bad because one person is showing a gun, even though it's legal. Even though the gun is legal, it's 100% his. That's not what people want the NBA. That's not what they want them to think of. So it's the conduct. So he could potentially get kicked out of the league for, even though it's his weapon, they don't want no one to think that the NBA is okay with that. Same with Kevin Porter Jr. Domestic violence, they don't want the NBA to feel as though they have abusers in the league. Same with Miles Bridges. Like I said, Miles Bridges just ended up getting lucky and getting back on the team. You're in a total worse situation because of the news that had came out. And if it really isn't for now, the news that just came out today about this could be a potential exaggeration, how she exaggerated the story a little bit. If the original story was true, you could potentially not even be in the league just like that because you already got cut from a team. You already got cut by your Houston Rockets. So now you just got to wait until more news come out, then the trial comes, and then if you get found not guilty, That's a big if. If you get found not guilty, hope that another team will pick you up. Because even if they do pick you up, they have to keep in the back of their head, oh, he was a part of this abuse situation. Oh, he was a part of this thing that happened at USC and he was in a crash and he had possession of marijuana. Oh, he had conduct issues with the Rockets and the Cavaliers and every single team that he's been with. That's basically your resume. No one doesn't want someone that on their resume, they're not even at the other job for less than 30 days, just weeks and weeks and weeks. They're not even there for a full month, let alone a full year. Don't no one want that for their company. They're going to look at that and be like, oh, this person will abandon our job just like that. It's the same way here. With you having all these conduct issues, you getting arrested, it's not a bad look on your resume for these other teams. And now since you done got waived by this team and they're really trying to trade you, even if they do try and trade you, it's going to be hard for another team to try and pick you up because of the simple fact that they have basically all this baggage with them now. It's like you're basically a flight risk. So if this case is true, then obviously you're not going to get another chance in the league. But if it's not, even still, it still affects you. It still affects the money that you can make because now people think that you're a flight risk. Now people know that you have conduct issues. No one wants that. Whether that's in the NBA, NFL, MLB, or just a regular business corporation, stores, all of that. They don't want no one in which they have a whole lot of baggage with them. Baggage meaning past incidences. Don't no one want that. So it's real deal just crazy how your emotions can be your downfall. Obviously, like I said earlier, this is an active investigation. So we'll see what more comes out about this case. And I will keep y'all updated on Twitter and Instagram. I would best be sure to keep y'all updated on this case in particular because this person is in Houston. This is more personal to me. And this is more personal because it's domestic violence. I haven't went through no domestic violence. I'm not saying that. But this is domestic violence. You got to hear from both parties. You can't just hear from one party and believe that that's the full story. You got to hear from the other side. Take what you get from both of them, then come up with your story, your own personal story. Because that's not fair to do. That's not fair to just hear one story and just run with it. You didn't even give the other person a chance, whether it's right or wrong. You'll figure that out once you do talk to him. But since he's big, they basically already took the ex-girlfriend's story and they basically put it out everywhere. But if that story is true, then he for sure needs to go to jail. He should not play another basketball game ever again. But now since we know that some of the pieces of her story was exaggerated and she didn't want us to blow the whole story out of proportion, that's what you told us. So now we got to really go in detail, go deeper in the story and figure out what is the real story in this Kevin Porter Jr. case. We know even with her exaggerating the story a little bit, that doesn't necessarily mean that Kevin Porter Jr. is just clean off the hook and he didn't strangle her. But some of the things are exaggerated. So now it's like we got to look deeper. Got to look deeper in the story, see where the holes are so we can fill the holes. That's what law enforcement will think from their perspective. Fill the holes in the story. What's exaggerated, what's not, what's true, what's not. But one thing she didn't deny is that she was abused. So obviously we heard her story. Now we got to hear Kevin Porter Jr.'s. If the story is true, Kevin Porter Jr. should not play another game in the NBA. And he's not going to. Adam Silver is not going to allow him to do that for the sake of the NBA. And I 100% agree with that decision if he decides to do that. If he decides to do that. But that's something to keep in mind. With domestic violence, got to hear both sides of the story. But like I said, if it's true, he should not play another NBA game.